Welcome to Roadblocks, a game that I've been making over the last month. I made the name from the basic concept of the game. Let me break it down for you. There is a road that stretches across several blocks. Roadblocks. My name is Matt, and I'm a systems analyst who recently picked up game development. Gaming has always been a passion of mine, and I've always had the idea of making a game. My first game was made when I was a kid. You used your mouse to get through a maze. My game engine of choice? PowerPoint. My game dev skills did not progress much from there until much later on. After picking up some more technical skills in college and in my professional career, I set out to make my game. I am not a very skilled dev, so I opted to try out the Unreal Engine and use blueprints. Why code when you can just drag and drop it, right? I got on a mission to make a game a few months back and gave up about a weekend because I couldn't figure out a usable win mechanic.
Mission failed! We'll get them next time.
If at first you don't succeed, Mr. Kid, try again, Mr. Winner.
About a month ago I picked it back up, and this time I finally got some traction. Over the last 8 devlogs I posted pretty raw content on my progress, but I would like to use this devlog to recap, and we'll try to improve the quality of these going forward. On screen you can see a clip from my first devlog. This video covered my early progress and shows the point from where I quit that first week. The setting is in a desert canyon. This will be Roadblock 1. There is a block-like character that can move around and collect coins. He has an axe equipped and it doesn't really do anything. Snakes chase the character around and do damage. Their movement is pretty broken and you can't really kill them. That won't change for a while. The next devlog I focused on making the game more playable. I added enemy spawners, added a new heat map for the landscape, and even created a win mechanic. At this point I had decided to migrate my project to UE5 because bigger number better, right? The main character also changed to this weird alien looking thing and I gave him stamina. In Devlog 4 I worked on AI and collectibles spawning randomly to give the level a more unique experience. The character now has a sword too, with which they can eliminate the enemies. In Devlog 5 added some sounds such as a pinging mechanism for the coin collectibles. When the player presses R, it pings a sound from the location of the coin collectibles to make them easier to find. Changes were also made to the landscape material as well as foliage being added. Combat was improved slightly, but it's just a few minor tweaks. Also, I asked ChatGPT what would make this a better game and it suggested a teleportation power-up because why not? By Devlog 6 I was finally starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with the Unreal Engine at this point. I added a slide mechanic, a tutorial level, and other than that I just tweaked a lot of existing blueprints to clean up. On Devlog 7 my friend Vince made me a nice loop for my menu music, so I dropped that in. Side mission was added to the game in this log. It was something that I was able to complete without any tutorial, so I was very happy with how it turned out. The mission is to rescue aliens trapped on the roadblock by activating their UFO. The player achieves this by using the teleport power-up to get to the UFO and touch the power source. The aliens start following the player upon activation, so they must guide the aliens to their tractor beam. I want to add an item drop for completion, but that will come later when the inventory is added. base idea of what the game could be, or at least what the gameplay on the first level looks like. The game was made with scaling in mind so that when everything is done with the first level, I should be able to create the others much quicker. However, one big part of the game was missing, and I would give that a shot in Devlog 8. In this devlog, I gave 3D modeling and animation a shot. This was quite difficult and time-consuming. The combination of my lack of artistic ability and limited use of cubes and spheres until I really figure out how Blender works led to some interesting creations. After a few iterations and more time, I finally got a more workable model. This was the first iteration of my character. It will keep on changing over time until I get something I'm more satisfied with. Since this game is becoming more geared towards speed as well, I decided to add a particle trail effect, and started using the particle effects. Another thing I tried was making music for my first level. I had not done anything like this, so it was a tough process. I used Ableton software, and the result was the following. I ended up cutting this for my level music in the end, but learning the software could help down the road. The last thing I added to the game in this devlog was creating a live leaderboard integration. I did this by using HTTP post requests to an API connected to my leaderboard database. Thankfully, setting up an API was as easy as click, right?
Wrong.
I had to create a DB to store the stats, create a Lambda script, set up the API, and add an HTTP client to my game to send post requests. There isn't a real use for it at the moment, but the knowledge will be very powerful as I scale. I put more work into Blender and produced some more workable models and animations. My girlfriend even suggested I add a scorpion to the level, so I did. Snakes and the main character got updates as well. It felt like it was missing a bigger enemy, so I had the idea of a rock golem type character that smashes players in the radius, and can actually take damage. Meet Big T. Sound effects were added for each character as well. With my new characters, I created new enemy controllers and assigned different behavior trees that I created to give them more life. I expect to expand on these much more in the future. Lastly, to improve the environmental feel, I added procedural generation for my rocks and plants, added planets and galaxies to the sky, and dropped in the new level music that my friend Vince created me. This was the result. The road ahead is long, but nonetheless I press forward. Ultimately, this game will consist of sequential levels with each level getting harder. Bigger picture, I want to make a multiplayer build and create some form of economy in game, but that is much farther down the road. For now, I just want to finalize models, add mechanics, create a tutorial level, add the first 10 roadblocks, all before releasing the alpha version. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the project. Until next time.